Half-Life is a pitch-black universe, a world where progress doesn't bring prosperity, but instead unravels reality itself. This is exactly what happens when science forgets its soul. It all begins in the hidden corridors of the Black Mesa Research Facility, a top-secret lab buried deep in the New Mexico desert. Here, the brightest minds in theoretical physics push the limits of known science under government contracts no one talks about. One experiment is all it takes, a reality-shattering event that tears open the veil between dimensions. In an instant, Earth is no longer alone. From the interdimensional rift spills a horrifying legion. The Gen, a collection of enigmatic alien species that are as strange as they are lethal. Floating manta ray beasts, barnacle-tongued ceiling predators, crab-like parasites that fuse to your skull and turn you into something less than human. And if that wasn't bad enough, the true nightmare is yet to come. The government doesn't send rescue teams, they send military death squads, known as cleaners, to silence every witness. Scientists, security guards, innocent bystanders, all of it doesn't matter. Anyone who saw the truth must die. The message is clear, your life is a loose end. Then there's Gordon Freeman, a theoretical physicist with a crowbar and a PhD. As Black Mesa descends into chaos, Freeman fights his way through alien monstrosities and trigger-happy soldiers, not to save the world, but just to survive another hour. But survival is only the beginning. The Gen incursion is just the opening act. After Earth's dimension is compromised, an even greater threat arrives: the Combine, a multi-dimensional empire of tyranny and horror that not only invades, but enslaves. In just 7 hours, they crush all global resistance and seize the planet. It's called the 7-Hour War, and Earth doesn't stand a chance. When we meet the world again, it becomes unrecognizable. Cities are walled-in prison states. Surveillance drones patrol the skies. Speaking out is a death sentence. Humanity is ruled by a puppet administrator, Dr. Wallace Breen, the very man who surrendered Earth to the Combine. And the Combine? They're not just aliens, they're something worse. A synthesis of biology and machines that strip planets like locusts, harvesting resources, converting species, erasing individuality. The human race is reduced to cattle. Breeding is controlled. Memory is rewritten. Dissent is eliminated. And still, from the shadows of this totalitarian nightmare, resistance stirs. Gordon Freeman, long missing, returns. Alongside Alex Vance, a brilliant hacker and daughter of one of Freeman's old allies, the two become signs of defiance in a world drowning in despair. But even hope is twisted in the Half-Life universe. Allies die and victories come at a terrible cost. You're never sure who's pulling the strings. And then there are the zombies. Horrific fusions of human corpses and parasitic head crabs. Some still wear lab coats, some still cry out in muffled, garbled pain, suggesting they're still aware inside, trapped behind twitching limbs and rotting flesh. At this moment, humanity's fate is already sealed, and all that's left is to make noise before the end. Berserk. There are dark worlds in fiction, and then there's Berserk, a universe drenched in misery and cosmic horror that even hell would seem merciful by comparison. This is not a world where hope flickers in the shadows. Here, the shadows consume hope. They feast on it. In Berserk, there is no promise of justice. This is a universe shaped by the idea of evil, a godlike force that controls destiny itself. Every moment of joy, every act of cruelty, every triumph, and every slaughter exists to serve its inscrutable design. Human suffering is not accidental, but ordained. Souls are sacrificed like pieces on a cosmic chessboard, all to maintain a balance no mortal can comprehend. And for those who dare to struggle against this invisible script, the punishment is as infinite as the void itself. At the center of this spiral into oblivion is Guts, a man born from the corpse of his mother, raised by mercenaries, and thrown into battle before he could speak. He is rage incarnate, swinging a slab of iron that barely qualifies as a sword. His enemies are not just men or monsters, but apostles, once human creatures who abandon everything, even their own flesh, in exchange for a seat at the banquet of chaos. These beings serve the God Hand, a cabal of infernal demigods who manipulate reality like puppeteers strumming the strings of despair. And among them is Femto, the twisted rebirth of Griffith, who betrayed everything including their brotherhood, their trust, and their shared humanity in a single night of unspeakable horror, known as the Eclipse. In the long run, underneath a sky blackened by 1,000 screaming souls, he sacrificed the Band of the Hawk, his loyal followers, to ascend into the ranks of the God Hand. The Warhammer is not a future of shining cities and hopeful horizons. This is a nightmare painted in blood and iron, stretched across 1,000,000 worlds. The year is the 41st millennium, and humanity has conquered the stars, only to find them rotten with war, madness, and things far worse than death. At the heart of this decaying empire is the Imperium of Man, ruled by a god emperor who has been dead for 10,000 years, kept alive on a golden throne by sacrifice, machinery, and desperation. An empire so vast it's forgotten entire civilizations within its own borders. It survives not with science or justice, but with dogma, fear, and endless violence. Every corner of the galaxy holds something worse. There are the Tyranids, a vast swarm of alien biomass from beyond the known galaxy that consumes entire planets in hours until nothing remains but dust. There are the Orcs, an anarchic race of green-skinned brutes who live for battle and get stronger the more they believe they're winning. There are the Eldari, a dying race of psychic space elves whose ancient sins birthed a god of excess that now feasts upon their souls. And then, deeper still, there is chaos made of ruinous powers including entities of rage, lust, decay, and scheming madness, born from the thoughts and nightmares of living beings. They warp the universe itself, and their followers now serve as corrupt warlords and demigods, driven by vengeance, blood, and power. To stand against these horrors, the Imperium sends its finest. The Adeptus Astartes, 8-foot-tall post-human juggernauts, each the product of brutal gene splicing. They are heroes only in the sense that they are slightly more surgical in their slaughter. Supporting them is the Astra Militarum, a force of countless billions of regular humans thrown into the maw of battle. They are given a flashlight, a flak vest, and orders. Most never come back. Entire planets are exterminated to prevent heresy from spreading. Populations are wiped out to stop psychic infection. Cities burn because one man had a thought he shouldn't have. And still, the war continues. Warhammer 40,000 doesn't offer hope. Here, there are no good guys. There's no redemption. There's no peace, and even the heroes commit massive atrocities. Above all, the only mercy is extinction. Elden Ring. In every universe, only a few worlds match the dread-soaked grandeur of the Elden Ring. The Lands Between, its haunted stage, was once a place of divine symmetry where the Elden Ring held all threads of existence humming, but something ancient cracked. The Elden Ring shattered and was broken like a soul under too much weight, and with that, the Age of Golden Order twisted into a nightmare without end. Where once a divine tree glowed with grace, now it looks like a corpse candle over a world in collapse. Empires rotted from within. Demigods, each worse than the last, tore each other apart for fragments of a power none could control. The land itself became diseased, storms carry madness, and cities stand as monuments to forgotten wars and doomed kings. Just like Millennia, the Blade of M'Quilla and Scarlet Goddess of Rot, whose body is both beautiful and diseased, sword and sickness in one. She brought entire armies to their knees not with strength, but with contagion. Her every breath is a death sentence, her every victory is a curse. Then there's Radon, once the most noble of warriors, who learned gravity magic not for glory, but to keep fighting alongside his beloved horse, which could no longer carry him. He now stalks the red-scorched wastes of Caelid, a star-eating revenant of his former self, locked in an eternal war fueled by rot and lunacy. Even death refuses to release him. And in the dark corners of this broken world wanders Rani, the Moon Witch, her flesh discarded, her soul housed in a doll. She plots not for the throne, but to overthrow the very concept of divine order. Her rebellion is quiet, cold, and cosmic, just like taking a break from the rules of reality itself. Overall, this universe is despair fossilized into myth. It is beauty ruined, hope mocked, and power left to fester. It's a place where even salvation tastes like ashes, where kings are monsters, heroes are liars, and truth has long since drowned in the crimson lakes of forgotten wars. No happy endings, only choices, ruin, and you. Doom. There are dark stories, and then there's Doom. A universe where the concept of hell isn't just myth or metaphor, but real. A realm of endless torment, ancient evil, and unstoppable violence. And in the world of Doom, humanity didn't just stumble upon it, they invented it. It started with science, as it always does. On Mars, the Union Aerospace Corporation wasn't trying to destroy the universe. Not on paper. Their goal was progress, infinite energy, a future without limits. They called it Argent Energy, a power source harvested straight from the bowels of hell itself, and that was their first mistake. See, the people at UAC weren't visionaries, they were fools with access to technology they barely understood. They found a way to tap into hell, extract its energy, and power civilization, all without asking what else might come through. And guess what? Everything came through. Demons by the thousands. Monsters, aliens, and even demons. Living nightmares of muscle, fire, teeth, and hate. They don't just kill, they defile, corrupt, devour. They're not here to conquer, they're here to erase planets, civilizations, and souls. And they've done it before. Mars wasn't their first world, just their latest. The result was a total collapse. Mars was lost. Earth soon followed, becoming a scorched husky crawling with hellspawn. Cities fell, governments dissolved, and whatever was left of humanity went straight underground, literally. The surface was no longer ours. In most stories, this would be the end, but Doom isn't most stories. This is where Doomslayer comes into play. No one knows where he came from. Some say he was a soldier. Others believe he's something far older, a being of wrath given flesh. What we do know is that hell fears him, and in a universe where even angels have gone silent, fear is a sacred currency. They have given him many names, the Slayer, the Hellwalker, the Doom Marine, but none of them matter. He doesn't speak. He doesn't negotiate. He doesn't ask questions. He only kills. He was once sealed away by hell itself to survive him, but when the demons returned, so did he. And with him came retribution. He tears through legions like a living chainsaw, one man against the apocalypse, and somehow that's enough because for the Slayer, this isn't about saving the world. This is revenge. In one of the universe's cruelest ironies, hell took from him the one thing that ever gave him peace, a rabbit named Daisy, and when she died, so did any hope of restraint. Now there's no plan, no peace talks, just carnage. The Slayer doesn't want to win the war. He wants to end it, permanently. And in a universe as black as Doom's, he is the last chapter. Star Wars unfolds in a galaxy teeming with mystery, danger, and hope. This is a place where ancient religions shape the fate of worlds, and the stars themselves are battlegrounds for freedom and tyranny. At the center of Star Wars is the Force, a mystical energy field that connects all living things. It flows through every rock, tree, creature, and person. The Jedi, peacekeepers of old, trained in ancient temples and sworn to protect balance and justice, wield the Force with discipline and compassion. But the Sith, who are hungry for power, twist the Force into a weapon of domination, fueled by fear, anger, and hatred. For thousands of years, the galaxy swung like a pendulum between peace and war. Once, the Jedi stood beside the Republic, guardians of democracy and peace. But as corruption crept into the Republic's core and dark forces gathered in the shadows, the Jedi were blindsided by betrayal from within. A once heroic Jedi Knight, Anakin Skywalker, fell to the dark side, lured by the promise of power and the fear of loss. He became Darth Vader, the Iron Fist of the Sith. Under the cold leadership of Darth Sidious, the Galactic Empire rose from the ashes of the Republic. Star systems that once thrived under democratic rule were now crushed under Imperial boots. Freedom was outlawed, planets were enslaved, dissent was silenced. The galaxy was ruled by fear, with moon-sized superweapons like the Death Star obliterating entire worlds to maintain control, but where there is oppression, rebellion brews. In secret bases, scattered across asteroid belts and jungle moons, a ragtag band of rebels decided to defy the Empire. Farmers, smugglers, senators, droids, and defectors are now united by a single cause: freedom. The Rebel Alliance fought back against impossible odds. Among them was Luke Skywalker, a humble farm boy from the desert world of Tatooine. With the guidance of Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi and the mentorship of the wise and ancient Yoda, Luke discovered the truth about his heritage and the heavy legacy on his shoulders. He was the son of Darth Vader. But rather than fall like his father, Luke chose a different path of hope, compassion, and redemption. His journey wasn't just about defeating the Empire, it was about restoring what was lost: the Jedi, the balance, the light. Along with him are his fierce and brilliant allies, Princess Leia Organa, a leader of the rebellion and secretly the daughter of Vader, carrying the strength of a warrior and the heart of a leader. Han Solo, a scoundrel with a fast ship and a reluctant heart, found purpose in fighting for something greater than himself. And Chewbacca, R2-D2, C-3PO, and countless others become unlikely heroes in a war that stretched across star systems. The struggle didn't end with the fall of the Empire. Even after the second Death Star exploded above Endor and the Emperor was believed to be dead, remnants of the Empire clung to the shadows, and from them rose a new threat: the First Order. With it came another Skywalker descendant, Ben Solo, who fell to the dark side and became Kylo Ren. But the galaxy also found new hope in Rey, a scavenger from the forgotten world of Jakku, who rose to become the last Jedi. However, the story is far from over.